So first of all, thank you to Janma Bardi and to Marianne Springhall, because they're the ones and they're the reasons I'm here. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this amazing space. It is spectacular. And I have to say, I don't think I have seen any such event put on in the last 20 years that I've been participating in large events. So congratulations to the whole team. Everybody, round of applause for the team. I also want to thank the audience, right? You are all here for a purpose. You're here with your light. I love that term. Come share your light with us, right? And I think we've all been alone for too long, especially through the pandemic. So I am especially excited and grateful to be amongst everybody here, especially in the beautiful country of Guatemala. The third people I want to thank are going to be artists. So this particular picture, Unsplash is a fantastic resource for arts from all over the world. Artists put their work in. You can give them a shout out on social media, you can pay them, or what I have done here is I have attributed to them. So this picture was taken by Arturo Rivera. It's in Antigua, Guatemala, published on August 1st, 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. And if you think about what he was doing, taking a picture around there with the stars, right? Who could have imagined that we would be here on the other side of the pandemic and whatever the future holds for us? So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be taking you on a journey. It's going to be less about what I say, but it's going to be more about what the artists are telling us is going to be defining or redefining humanity in AI and Web3. You probably expected me, because I'm an engineer, that I'm going to talk technical. I am not going to talk technical. I'm going to talk human. So I want you to look at these beautiful pictures. What do they represent? Well, they are the state in the country of India where I was born. And the reason I bring this up is, as I was introduced as an engineer, as an architect, but I am actually a human being that was born in a small village, because I represent each of you. We all have a story. Either we come from a small background or our parents did, but there's a reason why we are all here today, because I think we have to go back to where we came from to remind ourselves how human we are, because I think we have lost that connection for a long time. And just for completeness, while I was born in India, I was raised in the Middle East, in a country called Bahrain. How many people have heard of Bahrain? Okay, very cool. It's a small island in the Arabian Gulf off the coast of Saudi Arabia. We're very cosmopolitan. If I can move this forward. Okay. So what I want to focus on today is the fact that we have a human reaction to things. We have to have the philosophy. So I actually work with philosophers, believe it or not. I was talking to a philosopher with a PhD in Stoicism. And he and I were talking about the fact that we have to go back and study what the human beings really need. Maslow's hierarchy, I'm sure everybody's heard that, right? It's that little triangle that depicts what do humans need. Beyond food, water, shelter, we rise up. Guess what? We have to come right back down. And we have to climb that mountain again. You know, it's a volcano summit. It's Maslow's hierarchy. So fear is one part of what is holding us back. And not the opposite, but the counter to fear is courage. And we have to choose how we react to these technologies that are coming in. AI, Web3. You know, the media has not done a good job in portraying a balanced view. We have to take control on how we are going to do that. Trust. As a society, we have lost trust with each other, right? It is a zero-sum game. A lot of people think if you do more, if I tell you something, if I give you something, then I will lose. That is not true. I was in the corporate world for 22 years in the telecoms field. Until 3 years ago, I began this journey to build a company where trust would be the foundation in everything that we do. Trust between the team, trust with our partners, Because we have for too long demanded that people earn our trust. Don't we say that? Right? Enterprises and corporations, you must earn my trust. Well, what if, just what if, we said, I trust you, give me a reason not to. So I tell my team, when I interview, and I interview each person, I say I only look for 3 things: integrity, the right kind of empathy, and a fire in the belly to learn and solve problems. I don't care which degree you have, I don't care which job you did before, but if you have these 3 things, I trust you right away. And in the journey we will go on together to work with this technology, you only have to give me one reason not to trust you. And it's worked. 3.5 years later, nobody on my team wants to leave because they are empowered and they are trusted. Hope. A lot of people tell me that they are overwhelmed by what's happening in the world, right? Artificial intelligence systems going in, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, but social media is being run with AI underneath. It tells us what to eat, who to marry, what to wear, where to go. What do we think about that? So who's in charge? Master and slave. I think humans are subservient to technology. We have to take control back. And there's too few voices at the table. So the counter to hope is going to be having more voices at the table to change the narrative. I have a very simple philosophy in life. I believe each of us is born into the world with superpowers given to us. And we spend a lifetime discovering those superpowers to solve problems and leave the world in a better place than we found it. Pretty simple, right? If each of us believe that for ourselves, as well as for others, to me, one of those superpowers is kindness. How many of you have seen over the last 2 years the amount of kindness shown by total strangers? Show of hands. In your family, in your friends, digitally, all the social media has just torn us apart. But I have seen more kindness than I have ever before, because that's what binds humans together. And I do believe each of us is born with the kindness superpower. And if we use that, we can solve any problem together. So, racism, hate, right? We've seen a lot of that. We feel like we're so torn apart. You turn on the news, pretty depressing, right? With what's going on. But I think, again, we have to come back to our humanity. Who is the vaccine against hate and racism? We are. We have got to come back to that thought process. The pandemic did show us we can do that. At the rate at which vaccines were created, rate at which we lost a lot of lives. It's been a horrific experience, but we've learned a lot of lessons. And during the same time, the technologies AI and Web3 grew at an unprecedented rate. Because guess what? Everybody was home, nobody was distracted. The amount of productivity that was unleashed was unprecedented. I know that because we are the builders of this exponential age. Now, I mentioned this term exponential age. Let me define it a little bit. Everybody's probably heard the World Economic Forum talk about the 4th Industrial Revolution, right? Technology's accelerating. There's a lot of things happening, but we are at a convergence point where technology has gone so far ahead at an exponential pace that our social, education, government systems, legal, regulatory, are left far behind. We are not able to keep up. So that means something's got to change. So there's a book by Azim Azhar called The Exponential Age. Highly recommend everybody read it, tell your friends, tell your family, because it really frames what's going on. So I put this slide up because I've shared with a lot of people that I believe we are in a digital slavery age. Why do I say that? How many of us walk around like this? right? The technology is telling us who to talk to, who to like, responding. Slavery. That's on one side of the equation. The other side of the equation, which most people don't know, I do because I actually work with these systems, is that there are hundreds and thousands of humans that are employed at very low wages to train these AI systems. So you know on Google, when you go do a search, do you know why you don't see bad stuff show up? And this has been going on since the internet was invented, right? And Google rose, are people who mark those images as, explicit, not to be shown. It's human work. Well, I'm going to fast forward that, and the deployment of these AI systems into businesses is taken that to another level, because these AI systems, one branch in particular that we're seeing take off and we focused on, is natural language processing. What natural language processing is a new interface between humans and machines. Everybody knows web interfaces. Everybody knows mobile interfaces. Those technologies were created where humans had to learn how to use it, right? Swipe, click, right? Natural language processing is where machines have to understand what humans are saying. Alexa, skills, Siri, those are the examples that everybody knows. But we have now entered a new phase where you are going to see more of that in the banks that you use, if not already. Bank of America has an AI assistant called Erica, for those of you who have Bank of America accounts. And there's more coming. Investment management. So we're creating digital AI assistants to help people manage their wealth. You don't need humans to do that. They already have that. Betterment is an example. That's AI. So the choices being made for those deployments are by very few people. So few people are making the decisions for the many. So we got two problems with that. We've seen this before. When a minority makes a decision that's in power for the majority, nobody has a say. Well, hopefully we're mostly, democratic nations. Yes, we've got other forms of government as well. We're seeing what's happening in China. There has to be more voices. And the second thing is the type of voices at the table. So when we typically do a project, we've got engineers, we've got designers, but I also bring philosophers, psychologists, because the question is going to be, how should machines talk to humans? What questions should we ask? What are not right to ask? What's the data that's training these systems? It's biased. We all know that. The data that's been collected, everybody hears about big data. It is tainted and it's biased. If you train a machine with biased data, you're going to get biased AI assistants. So what I'm on a move, and I'm a capitalist, right? I'm a for-profit company, but I'm a human-first capitalist. But I'm also an activist because I believe we're in a huge opportunity to not only have the right people at the table, but as the World Economic Forum has forecasted, by 2025, there'll be 97 million new jobs in these spaces. So it's an opportunity to get more people in. That's what Janma and I were talking about, that the countries that have been left behind with the previous generations of tech, you can leapfrog it. Just like we had countries that went straight to mobile wireless, skipping the whole wireline infrastructure, same concept. Isn't this an amazing picture? Like if you look at it, it's created by an artist, and it's created by AI. So on one side, the dichotomy of this is, you have got a human that created a face of a human mixed in with AI. Like, what does this mean? This means there is a place for AI. Everybody's heard about art. There's open AI called DALL-E that's creating artwork. There's actually, if you Google the news on this, it won an art contest. And artists were furious. Some people say, oh, we should not deploy AI. I said, well, that horse has already left the barn. So you have to figure out how to do it, right? But there's beauty in this technology. I'm a technologist, but I am a human first. So always remember that. Human first technology. So the work that we do in particular is we're creating conversational AI. There's something called the uncanny valley. It's the point at which humans, when they see pictures like these, start to feel uncomfortable. So there are many questions around AI to say, should we tell a human that it is AI? You may not know. You would call a call center today, and you do not know whether you are talking to a human or an AI assistant, because the technology's gotten so good. The voice that's generated, our voice has DNA. You can now create AI assistants with the voice of humans. Voice actors are scared of losing their jobs. It's happening. It's here. But we got to take more control. That's really the message here. So the reason why I'm even up here, why should you listen to me, is we're actually doing this work every single day where we're helping companies, B2B, but B2B is always B2B to C. We know this will have an impact on millions of people. So if you look at these pictures on the top right, there's a company that I work with who I believe has the most powerful NLP engine commercially available today, where you can actually see how she or he or it is thinking, what part of its brain, right? So if I describe AI analogy to humans, AI assistants have a brain, they have hearts because that's the design, they have memory, long-term and short-term, just like humans, content management systems, we all know that. They have senses because they can talk to us with our voice or through chat. They can sit in our messaging channel on WhatsApp. We know WhatsApp is very popular. We're actually doing work with a bank in Brazil to create a proof of concept where on WhatsApp that is going to be talking to their consumers and sensing what they want to do. But we have to do it the right way, the responsible way. AR, VR, everybody sees this, right? Metaverse, how many of you have not heard the term metaverse? Okay. What is that world going to look like? Because AI is going to accelerate it, right? I was reading a story where, from a marketing standpoint, you enter that world, you don't know whether the person next to you is somebody real just talking about a product or whether they're paid, right? Today, when you watch an advertisement on TV, it's an advertisement. When you read a magazine, for those that are left, that it's a promotional. In the metaverse, you will not be able to say that because AI is driving it for you. When it knows who you are, it will tell you what you should buy. We don't have any regulations in AI. We have no regulatory frameworks. We have no legal frameworks. It's completely the wild, wild west, both in AI and in Web3. These are all, artists' rendition of what's going on, right? Gaming, huge, right? So this is the world that's unfolding before our eyes, but my message to everybody is you need to take a seat at the table in these decisions. All the companies you work at, either you're a startup or you're in corporate, if you're in education, if you're an NGO, you need to start asking questions, right? Is there AI involved in it? Show me what it does, because right now a lot of AI systems are black boxes. You cannot tell how they have been created. That's very dangerous. From a branding standpoint, it is the biggest channel anybody can have, is because AI will continuously learn and serve the product to the person. Bitcoin, NFTs, how many people investing in crypto? Yeah, there you go. It's the natural evolution of what occurred over the last 20 years with our financial systems. Money is important to everybody, right? This is also another place we need to start making some decisions. And I'm actually getting organically pulled in because Web3 founders are saying we need help with making it less complex for people to grow adoption. AI can do that. It speaks the human language. How many people try creating a digital wallet on MetaMask, right? It's like crazy insane. Like, I don't know, should I go put it? So the adoption curve, AI is going to help accelerate it. So I started this journey 3.5 years ago when I wrote my manifesto, said, what problem do I want to solve? And one of my first conferences that I moderated, that bot is what somebody created. I thought it was pretty cool. That's me if I were to be an avatar in the metaverse. On the right is an NFT that was gifted by one of the startups that I advise in peak.xyz. They're dropping their newly minted NFTs this week. Pretty cool, isn't it? So we have our reality and we have choices. Each of us, billions and billions. We have got to make some choices. And the way we're going to do it is, first of all, everybody has to figure out what your superpower is. Because each of us has it. Some know what it is, some are still trying to figure it out. Mentoring. So the 3 things I want to leave everybody with thinking about. Mentor people. You've got superpowers. Mentor somebody to discover theirs. And that's the only way we're going to move forward. They're in your communities, either physically or digitally. That's the only way this is going to work, because the education systems are broken too. In 2020, I ran a pilot program of training because I couldn't find talent for the projects that we were working on. And in the middle of the pandemic, nobody was getting an internship, right? So my sister said, you got to help your niece, do something, go take her. She was doing her master's in computer engineering. She brought along a friend. Another friend said, hey, I've got this kid, he's doing a master's in data science. He can't find. I said, okay. So 5 graduate school interns, 5 women I was mentoring to enter the field of conversational AI. I mentored them. I taught them my framework. I gave them an apprenticeship. I said, I need you to build me a product. In 6 months, they created a simple chatbot. Because I gave them access to all the technology, the resources. I said, you pick whatever role you want to play. Designer, developer, doesn't matter what you know right now and you don't know. Go figure it out. They did. And those 5 grad school interns landed jobs at IBM, at Accenture, right? So I know it works. Mentorship works. And use your voice. That's the number 2 thing. You have to take an active stance. Don't think AI is so intimidating or Web3 is so intimidating. Only coders are needed. That you need to have a STEM degree. No. We need in equal parts artists, philosophers, psychologists, people who understand the humanity of what we want. We have got to take that control. And that's going to come from all our collective voices. Don't leave anybody behind. The one thing I make people I hire, humans I hire to my company, I said the only thing I ask is you bring along one more person. You mentor one more person in your community. If you do that, you get the network effect. If we do these things, humanity will win over these new technological systems that right now are in control. So with that, I'm going to wrap up because I know I am down to the last 5 minutes, and I'm going to leave some time for questions. Happy to take any questions if anyone's got. Okay, can we get mics?
Hello? Hello? So I know you're a human-first capitalist, and my question is that in a world where our information is the product and algorithms are still growing every day for many purposes, and mostly because they want to sell our information, do you think we still have privacy?
So it's intentional privacy. So a lot of people, and by the way, we've got kids. So my husband's sitting here, by the way, he's an amazing human being, supported me so I could be here. Our kids, I asked them, I said, you're on social media, you know the price that you're paying is your data. They said, yeah, that's fine, because I get this free. This was the answer they gave us 5 years ago. Now they're in their 20s, one is 20 years old, one is 25, and they said, we're not creating accounts anymore. Like TikTok, our 20-year-old said, I'm not going to create my account and give my data. It's about awareness for young people, and the answer is there is no privacy because there's no regulation. The only hope I see is blockchain, but it's still very early days. You know, the future of that can be that we control our data, our health data, our financial data. It goes with us wherever we go. But there are current powers that don't want that to happen, okay? You got big healthcare systems, big financial systems, big tech. That's why we all need to have a seat at the table to have these conversations. Otherwise, you know, we're like cows being led to the slaughter, right? They're monetizing all that data. So it's gonna take time. But I do believe we can. Everybody's gotta take a seat at the table. Other questions? Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Can we trust AI?
That's a great question. So earlier I talked about humans trusting one another, right? I believe you can only create trustworthy AI if there are trustworthy humans designing and building AI. Right now, there are very few people making decisions, but there is a capitalistic reason why there needs to be more trust around AI, why we need to build safeguards. Because if you don't put that trust in, you're actually going to deploy systems that go very wrong. So there is an AI Hall of Shame list. Wired magazine puts that out. Take a look at it. It's systems where people, companies and governments have deployed it, and it's gone horribly wrong. People have lost their medical benefits. They've lost the ability to buy food, people at the lower socioeconomic rungs. So again, it all comes back to awareness and taking a stance on it, educating yourselves. Go look for both the good and the bad of AI and make some decisions. Other questions? Yep.
Thank you. What would you say is the starting point to creating laws to regulate a future where the multiplicity of the being is a natural, let's say, feature of the metaverse? Because there's people that says that humanity is beyond our biological body, right? Because what the metaverse allows us is to create an outlet for the multiplicity of personalities and avatars and personas that are embedded or maybe manifesting within ourselves. So what would you say is the starting point to regulate the future in the metaverse for the multiplicity of beings, and also the future where there are intelligent artificial intelligence that proclaim themselves self-aware?
Yesterday. It's yesterday. And I'll tell you why. So everybody's seen what Meta is doing, right? They've bet their future. In fact, they changed their name from Facebook to Meta. They're going full speed ahead. So are other systems. Private brands, you can see a lot of the fashion brands are already doing that, trying to figure out how to go monetize the metaverse and get more people in. It's early days, but if you think about the adoption of the internet that took 25 years, right, before it got to, I think it's only like 40% of the world's population that has access to the internet. This particular growth curve is in the next 5 years. It's a very short period of time, and do we think governments will come up with that? So some people might say we don't want government in it because it stifles innovation. I do agree to a point, but you can't go to the other extreme where there's none. And nobody's going to self-regulate. It's the mighty capital dollar, right? Or money and capital's involved. People are going to make choices based on that. So who's going to be at the table to force governments to make those choices. And by the way, in the metaverse, we could be, exchanging money without needing the government's approval, and they cannot trace it. Both good and bad story, right? Who's going to make that decision? Who do you want to leave it to? Because there's powerful lobbies that lobby the government to keep things the same. We're in uncharted waters. But what my point is, everybody's going to start having a voice, because if we don't, in 5 years, it'll be too late, because these systems would have been embedded and people are going to go adopt it. Be too late. You think government's going to catch up? Governments did legitimize cryptocurrency, right? We saw that. Like, it's now a security asset. That's good news. But now people coming into the metaverse, right, creating new economies, which is a good thing. People who don't have access to jobs will now start selling there. But what's going to be the rules? Who's going to define the rules? Who defined the internet rules? It emerged. But the metaverse is growing much, much faster. There's going to be a lot of problems. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be ugly at the same time. All right, I think I'm at the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the space and the time. Thank you.